Hey guys, welcome to this week's show. It is really windy. I'm down here in Pensacola Beach, Florida, with Captain Matt Maldwin from the Click Through, as well as Christian Maldwin with Bloodline Fishing Charters here out of Pensacola Beach, Florida. Those two systems that are east of the Carolinas and Florida are definitely pushing some east wind. Sadly, I'm not in town, not able to grab some local reports this week, but I'm excited to bring you some highlight reports from the past around this time last year. Hopefully, we can revisit some of those great segments with some of our local captains and glean a few tips and tricks that we can use in our upcoming fishing trips. I will say some lessons learned from some of my recent trips was have a contingency plan for if you are, say, you're out wreck fishing and you come across a pile of mahi, go ahead and have a contingency plan ready to go. Where I failed was not having my squid cut up and ready to chum should I come across them, and didn't have the right size little jig or hook ready to go for them. So it was kind of a missed opportunity when you're out there that far. Otherwise, I just would encourage you guys to go back in the past couple of weeks, listen to Captain Kenny talking about sea bass, and the wrecks are going to get really good right now over the next couple of weeks, and it's some great opportunities to get out there and fill the cooler with some choice meats. And again, if you guys are listening and you don't have a vessel yourself, I would really encourage you to go back through the last couple of weeks and just listen to some of the captains chatting. Every captain we have on the show is a great, licensed, insured professional. They know what they're doing. They're going to get you out there, and it's going to be a great day. You're going to have fun, and you're likely to catch some fish along the way. So stay tuned. We got some exciting stuff to revisit, and hopefully you guys will learn something that you can use in your upcoming trip. Till next week, talk to you soon.
Listen up. AFTCO has a promotional gift for all Great Days Outdoors Podcast Network listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For those cold, wet, or windy days, I especially enjoy my weatherproof fabric barricade jacket, as well as my Helm insulated fishing gloves. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918. You'll get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. Boaters know that the unexpected can happen anytime. That's why Sea-Tow offers 24/7 on-water assistance with priority service for members. Whether it's a dead battery, running out of fuel, or needing a tow, Sea-Tow's fleet is ready to help. Membership includes unlimited towing with no distance or dollar limits in your home area, fuel delivery, jump starts, and more. Plus, members receive exclusive discounts on fuel, electronics, dockage, and boat insurance. With over 500 ports nationwide, Sea-Tow has you covered wherever you boat. Join today at seatow.com and boat with confidence. All right, you guys, welcome to this week's show. Captain Rob, you just got off a charter, just docked up back at the marina. How are we doing this evening?
Tired, very tired. The summer is here, and we're running every day.
Yeah, you look freshly sunburnt, a little bit of residual sunscreen hanging out, and we'll catch us up. So, opening day was Sunday, but before we get into opening day of Cobia, was it Saturday you guys went out and did an inshore wreck trip or nearshore wreck trip?
Yeah, I had a good group of guys from Jersey that came down. I was telling them about the flounder fishing that we have here on some inshore wrecks, and and then inside the bay, and how the flounder fishing this year has probably been the best I've seen in probably 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's been phenomenal flounder fishing this whole entire season so far. It's pretty early for them too.
In your opinion, I mean, obviously we watch, the Gulf Stream move up every year, and that has a lot to do with the tunas and when they're going to show up. But, a flounder bite changing year over year, if you had to, throw a dart at a wall and pick a reason that it changes year over year, what would you guess is the reason?
Fish cycle.
Fish cycle?
Like a 10 or 12 year cycle, I think.
Okay. And
That's
is
what I
that
would go with, just because of the progression that we've seen? It's gotten, like last year was really good in the bay in July for flounder fishing, and that's been a very long time since we've seen it like that.
Yeah.
And then for the most part, like a lot of it's on the inshore wrecks or offshore wrecks and everything like that the past couple of years. But it's getting to be what it used to be like flounder fishing in the bay. And I just feel like it's a cycle. I don't think anything else really has changed that much.
Mm-hmm.
I just think just that class of fish is, moved back. Because if you look at it, like the guys up in Montauk and everything like that was really good for like the past 4 years, and that's died off now. And I just feel like maybe those fish, just kind of work their way up the coast, do one big loop,
Yeah.
and then come right back.
So kind of like a biomass, like we've talked about in the past with like trout and whatnot, where it's like there's obviously like the spawning and the, the normal, regrowth of the population, so to speak. But do you think there's certain biomasses that just kind of move around and we're just kind of in that fortunate cycle right now where there's just a large biomass in our area?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that that the bay was colder this year than normal. I mean, you don't really know because like it stayed pretty cold, or like normal what it used to be, and then it spiked up really hard, and then it dropped back down again. I don't know if that had anything to do with it because usually like you were fishing and it was like the ocean was 64 degrees in May.
Yeah.
It's usually never, or 62 sometimes.
Right.
And it never was like that. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. And like those fish that was like the temperature they really want to be able to shove in or something like that. And they were off the coast and just followed that, cold water in.
Mm.
Cause like normally May it's 70 degrees, 72,
Right.
that time of year. And the same thing like the drum were late showing up. They're just now, showing up this year.
Yeah.
I just think maybe that has something to do with it.
It sounds like it. I mean, and if I had to take my pick between an opportunity to catch a flounder or, drum, I think I would take flounder every day of the week over drum just because they're delicious. And you have to really kind of work for them. That bite is not easy. Whereas drum or, they'll eat a water bottle.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
You catch one drum, you caught them all.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys fish the nearshore wrecks, any particular areas? Like if I'm going to go out there and look around, do you have a recommendation for what type of wreck I should look at for a flounder versus sea bass, or is it typically kind of like one and the same?
So like usually the end of May, like years and years before how it's been is like the end of May, and how it was this year was really good in the bay. So
Hmm.
what the flounders do, they move in to the bay and inside Lynnhaven. That's where you'll first see them. They'll show up on the eastern shore, Wise Point. And then like a month or, 2 to 3 weeks later, depending on the water temperature, you'll catch them over at Rudy Inlet, and that's the first massive ocean fish moving in. And then you'll start seeing guys catching them inside Lynnhaven and at the end of May or middle of May. And then at the end of May, usually it's really good around, the bridge tunnel from the first island all the way to the high rise. Um, and then usually what I always say is like the first week of June's really good for like those near shore wrecks,
Mm.
like Light Tower to Cape Henry wreck, inside 8 miles, 6 miles. I mean, inside the bay, we fish wrecks right at the mouth of the bay too. Um, and then you'll get a big push in July and August when those fish are moving back out to the deeper water. And that's when they'll show up at the triangles and, all those other offshore wrecks.
Very cool. And I mean, I've been looking at some of your pictures that you've posted and some others. I mean, these aren't a small class of flounder. I mean, what would you say is the average size you're seeing, and what are some of the bigger fish that you're seeing?
So the average size that we've been catching consistently, I'd say like your consistent size is going to be like 20 to 22 inches.
Mm.
Um, and then you'll have a lot. We've had a lot of 25-inch fish this year. But so far our biggest one, that's what we caught the other day, was 30 inches.
Good
I mean,
Lord. 30-inch
giant.
flounder. What did
Yeah,
she
and
go
then we
about 6 or 7 pounds?
7 pounds. That's the only issue with the fish on the wrecks because they're migrating and moving, so they're not feeding. They're constantly just, and that's what happens is like they'll be all over those wrecks, but they won't eat because they're pushing inshore. And then usually when they get closer to the bay, that's when they'll try to nourishment and
Yeah.
fuel up again to do one last push into the bay to go spawn.
Yeah. Man, 30-inch flounder. I mean,
I,
fed or
I
unfed.
haven't I haven't seen one of those in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, and
area.
you've talked about it. You've talked about it on the show before, but remind our listeners, like if you're flounder fishing, whether you're using, like a dropper loop rig like you would for sea bass, or jig, um, with flounder, that bite is so different and the way you fight them up to the boat is a little bit different. Remind us like some of those top two or three tips and tricks to get the bite and get hooked up and then to keep them on all the way up into the net.
I'd say it all depends on like what you're fishing. So like if you're in the bay and you really want to fight like a big fish or something like that, and you're using live bait like a live spot or a croaker, like you're using a live spot or a croaker,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna go and I mean the number one rule with what they said was you're gonna wait for that thump, and they said light a cigarette, smoke the cigarette, and then set the hook.
So be patient.
Classic one very patiently because you're fishing bigger baits. Um, that's why a lot of the fishing that I do is mostly jigging or the dropper loop rigs. That's what we use a lot to do, especially for our clients. People that have never flounder fished before. It's just we lose less gear doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Just it's not directly on the bottom.
Right.
And I mean they catch fish just as well too. It's just I like fishing, lightweight jigs. It's just more, hands-on or finesse fishing, if you want to call it that. Um, but it's constantly, you got to be constantly jigging, always moving the bait as soon as it hits bottom. And I'm not saying like big pulls like you do for your sea bass, just like little taps on the bottom,
Mm.
just to make sure it's still there and, just keep the bait moving. And then when you get the bite, it's mostly just going to be tension, and you're gonna go. You got to watch your rod tip, and as soon as you go to lift up to do your jig again, it'll just be heavy, and then you'll usually feel like a swat or like a tug on it, a tug
Mm-hmm.
back down to the bottom, and that's
Yeah.
how you're really gonna know if it's a sea bass a flounder. The sea bass are mostly gonna be pep 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 pep,
Right.
tapping it nonstop, where a toadfish is just gonna one big swing at it and then start swimming with it or pull it back down the bottom. Those flounders are just going to hold on to it, and you'll feel them. As long as you leave tension on it, you'll feel them work their way up. They'll grab it,
Okay.
and then you'll feel boom, boom. It's just getting heavier because they're moving up the line. I give it like 5 or 6 seconds, and then you want to set the hook on it, and then you don't want to fight it crazy. You don't want to fight it hard. Just you don't want to even lift up and reel down. Just steady tension. Leave the rod tip up and at eye level, and just a steady crank.
Got it. Because they like to shake. They like to shake their heads a lot.
Yeah.
Got it.
If you're going in there and doing all this movement, trying to get them up fast and all that stuff, that weight's gonna pull off and be moving up and down, and that's what's going to de-hook your fish.
Got it. Okay. Good to know. That's a great tip. I tried to go flounder fishing the other day, and the one or two bites, I think they were actually sea bass, but as soon as I felt the bites, I was being so impatient and just swinging immediately. And it's just a good reminder that with flounder fishing, you have to be very present and focused to not just yank it as soon as you feel that bite, to actually wait those 5 or 6 seconds to smoke that virtual cigarette while you wait to actually get some tension on it. So that was Saturday, and then Sunday, opening day of Cobia. The weather conditions were I mean, how would you describe the weather on Sunday for an opening day of Cobia fishing?
Miserable. That's about the classic words that you could call it on that. It's just miserable. Rainy, overcast, very cloudy, not rough. I would say there's a lot of glare.
Yeah.
And just very, very tough conditions.
So how do you even
anything out there?
How do you even begin to sight fish for a cobia when the conditions are like that? I mean, that's like the worst possible sight fishing conditions ever. I mean, you guys caught. I think you were one of the few boats that I saw that caught on Sunday. How do you even begin to sight fish in those conditions?
You just go to your old reliable spots where you always see fish and just work it very slow.
Mm-hmm.
Just work it very slow and just stay very visual. That's the only thing.
Keep your head on a swivel.
You just kind of relax a little bit, because I feel like the harder you stare at it, the worse it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we went with on Sunday, was just to take it easy. And if it happens, it happens.
Well, it obviously happened. So tell us, I mean, you guys caught two really big fish, especially for our area as of the last couple of years. Talk us through those bites. Like how did you guys manage to squeeze that out despite the conditions? I mean, it was really cool to watch.
Lots of luck. That's what I call it, lots of luck. But
Yeah.
it was one of my buddies said that he seen like 2 or 3 fish, and he wanted us to go over there and help him start looking for them. So we were mackerel fishing, pulled up the mackerel rods, passed each other, and then looked to the left of the boat, and then there was just that 55 incher just laying right there next to the boat, probably 30, 40 feet away, about 2 foot down too. And then got the bucktail out, fish went to soak down, was able to make a cast, did a jig on where it was, and then just saw it flash on it down deep, and then ended up fighting the fish for 32 minutes because it ended up getting hooked on the side of the face, but we ended up getting it in.
Hold on a second. So you're telling me that a 50 plus inch fish ate a bucktail on June 15th inside of the Chesapeake Bay? I mean, I find that hard to believe.
Stop it. You already know I don't even have a live well on my boat.
I'm just messing. It's just it is cool to hear. I mean, I can't remember the last time I've seen a fish that big eat a bucktail, so it's exciting whenever. I mean, catching a fish on a live bait is fun, but there is something special about when they react to that artificial and you feel that bite. I mean, it's just such a rush in that moment. 32 minutes. I mean, your charter guest must have been exhausted.
He was exhausted, but that's what they come for. That's what I tell them. Enjoy it. This is what you want.
Yeah.
You know, you
Man.
you don't really want to fight that fish that comes. I mean, it's no fun. That's the whole point of the chase is getting that fight.
Yeah. 32 minutes of it. How long into the fight till you realized it was hooked in the cheek?
First time it came up, probably 10 minutes into it. The way it was fighting out, it almost spooled us. And usually that's like a tell sign, you know,
Right.
that it's hooked funny, or usually they get hooked up like underneath their belly in between their little fins right there. If they go to swipe at it or something like that. But he was hooked like 2 inches away from his mouth, like right in his gill plate.
So he definitely tried to eat it, and then obviously in the swipe process. I mean, I've had them where they swipe at it and then get randomly caught in the tail, which feels like a 1 out of 1,000 bad luck because then you're locked in for an unknown amount of time. But how big did that fish end up going?
That was a 57-pounder.
Whew,
It was a
man.
pretty good fish. It was pretty good. And then while we were
Citation.
fighting that one, we actually had in the video you can see there's probably like another 50 incher with it that ended
that
up
showed up.
It was like 15 minutes into the fight it showed up. It wasn't there
Wow.
with the fish before, just kind of like randomly showed up.
Man.
That's something else that's kind of screwed up the fishing. I think the past couple of days is all that rain that we've had. It's pushed all that fresh water in, changed the salinity levels, and just caused the fish just to sit a little bit lower. Like that one, I mean, that fish was 3 foot below the surface when I saw it. I mean, you could barely make it out. And that's what a lot of people I talked to when they were seeing fish that day. They were coming up, going back down. And normally that's what happens when it rains a lot. You know, all that fresh water comes out of the rivers.
Yeah.
And they want to go up, but then they come right back down. I don't know if it's a water temperature thing or the salinity levels or anything like that.
It's a good question to ask. I'm actually pulling up my Hilton's Real-Time Navigator right now to look at the salinity, just to kind of get a feel for, what was going on there, because I'm a believer in that. I think every time we see it rain really hard and we watch the sea surface or the salinity on the surface go down, I feel like we do see the action or them swimming on the surface decrease dramatically as well too. I wish I could interpret the salinity levels better. But we'd have to go back and actually spend some time and look at that day in history and then compare it, because I'll bet when we see days where there's a lot of fish up top versus days shortly after rain where there isn't, we can probably draw a conclusion about the salinity levels. And then in terms of the water temperatures, did you see anything remarkable, or is it about what you'd expect for this time of the year?
So that was our first time cobia fishing really in the bay. We've just been mostly doing wreck fishing and inshore fishing like that. I will say like that, I talked to everyone else that was out there that had been fishing previously, and I think they said the water temperature was like 76. But then that day it actually dropped to like 73. So it wasn't like a crazy drop or anything, but I know later in the day it did get to like 71.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is kind of a pretty big drop. And I know my buddy up the bay talked to him, and he went from like 80-degree water already, like way up there, and it would drop to like 77. So I mean, like a 3-degree drop, which isn't anything drastic.
Yeah.
That would change that. That's why I think it's more to the salinity and everything. But definitely, like in August or July, on those hot days where the water's 80, and all of a sudden you get that cold shower that moves in that just lays that layer on there. I think that'll affect them.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm looking at the PSU, which is I guess the metric that they measure salinity in. And you can definitely see that like just south of Cape Henry, the PSU gets really low, like very low salinity. So that kind of makes sense that if, Saturday and Sunday we had all that rain and then the outgoing tides is starting to move that water out of here. It's looking like it's a little south of us now, and some saltier water might be moving, back in over the next couple of sunny days. We got some hot days ahead of us too. So hopefully you guys see some good cobia fishing, especially
Yeah,
as
I
that.
heard they had a good showing today.
Okay.
Or I mean, better than what it has been. I mean, not like we did anything crazy. I mean, I think I've seen 5 cobies all day that day, and we caught 3. We caught 3. So I mean, wasn't like it was anything phenomenal. Not like how it normally should be, 20, 30 fish days, maybe
Right.
3, and then you catch 10 or something. But
Hmm.
I haven't seen that really all year, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well,
And I think it's a lot to do with the weather. I mean, we've had it was like I told you, it was really, really cold, and then it got really, really warm. The fish shoved in, and then it got really, really cold again.
yeah, just
And
kind
it
of
just
shut them
caused
down
those
again.
fish to go down to the bottom or go way up the rivers.
Hmm.
And I think that's what the issue is that everyone's seeing now. A lot of people are saying they're not eating, they're all balled up. They're seeing pods of fish. They're spawning earlier, is all it is. Usually we see that in July, and it seems more like it's happening right now.
Happened a little early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for our listeners who maybe have not gotten to hear your voice before, or aren't familiar yet with Real Release, I mean, you've been chartering, but how long have you been fishing for cobia?
My first time Cobia fishing was 2008.
2008. Okay, so that's that's a long time. That's it's like what, 17 years? And you're only 24 years old, so I mean that's basically your whole life. I'm kidding. What are you now? 30? 31?
Be 31 next month. Yeah.
31 next month.
Yeah, I think I was 15 the first time, 15 or 14 the first time I went Cobia fishing.
So you've spent thousands of hours cobia fishing, which is more than the average bear. And when you've seen these fish that they don't want to eat, I mean, is there really much of anything? Like if a fish doesn't want to eat, it just doesn't want to eat, right? There's nothing you can really do to force them to eat.
No, but I'll say that that's more of a newer trend, not
Hmm.
really like an older trend. We never really used to see that back in the day,
Would you
ever.
attribute that to boat pressure?
I
Then
attribute it to, oh, how do I say this nicely?
are
I
they learning
attribute
what
it,
are they
I
learning what eels look like?
no, I attribute it to people that want to catch 30 fish a day. And then, if you're catching 30 fish a day, you're probably pulling off 5 or 6. So that's 35 fish. And then you go out there the next day, they're not going to eat. You know what I mean? They're going to be
Hmm.
in the same spot. They're going to see each other, and they're just not going to eat just because, they've been stung.
Hmm. Yeah, and saying they've been stung, that's a good way of putting it. Fish are, animals, but animals have the ability to learn. And if those fish have gotten stung, like you said, a time or two, they might get wise. And I think it's you or somebody else I've heard say before, a fish didn't get to be 60 pounds because they're dumb.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the, well, I mean, I don't even think it's that, to be honest with you. I really don't. I think it's a lot of, because I mean, if that was the case, you wouldn't catch 50 pounders on bucktails,
True. True.
I think it's a lot to do with just the pressuring of people. There's a lot of people doing it now compared to years past. I mean, when I would go out there and do it, there would be 4 of us all day.
Right.
It was the main core of 4 or 5 guys that did this. No one else did it.
Hmm.
And then it's just, I mean, you've seen it, it's just grown and grown and grown throughout the years because it's so, we popularized it a lot more with social media than what it was.
Right.
And I think that a lot of it has to do with just so many people are going. A lot of people don't really know exactly, like, I would say, like, proper way or like how to fish for them. So,
Hmm.
I think like a lot of those people are running fish over. Now they're causing those fish to go down. You're not seeing those same
Right.
fish anymore. or those guys are throwing at a fish. And, it could be their first time. Like, I get it. Everyone's got to learn. But, not saying that, but I'm just saying it's a lot of people fishing. And, like, they throw at a fish just like, everyone does. I still do it. And you miss the bite, but you sting it, and the fish is sitting there, spitting and doing all that stuff. And then an hour goes by and I could see that fish and throw on it. And then it doesn't eat. You know what I mean? I think it's a lot to do with that because they don't really move a lot. Once they hit the bay, once they get on the other side of the tunnel, they don't really move that much. That's just kind of what people don't really realize. I'm not saying that they're not moving, but they're good. Like if you see them behind the third and fourth island, they'll probably be there for a couple of days. And it's the same fish that you see that you hook. Cause I've seen the same fish, it would be a scar or, mark on their back. And like, I'll see that fish a day or two later within the same area, within, 2 or 3 miles of that same spot. And I think it's a lot of that. So if you got guys going in there, on a banner day, there could be 60 to 100 boats fishing, and then say, 100 cobia get caught and released, and then you go back there the next day, there's still going to be that 100 fish in that area that they're just not going to eat. It's like the guys that go bass fishing, they don't really go pre-fishing the day before the tournament, because then the fish that they could win, and then that fish, that's what I see is a big trend. Is like it'll be really, really good on like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then everyone floods it out there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then
shuts it down.
And then it'll be slow, or not slow, but you'll see a lot more fish that won't eat Monday, and then you'll see that same thing Tuesday, and then by Wednesday, Thursday it gets better, but then everyone posts everything, and then it floods it again. And it's the same thing happens, it's just like a double-edged sword. I get it. Everybody wants to go out there and catch them, but I think that's just the majority of it is, it's not thousands and thousands of these fish out there. So you're essentially fishing the same fish.
Right. And there could be a lot more, but it's, I would guess.
There's a ton. There's a ton of fish.
But only a small percentage come up.
Correct. The majority of fish that you're seeing on the surface, come up. And it's like you've seen it. Like if you mess up on a throw with a fish and it follows it to the boat and it chases it and then you miss it, and then you go to throw it again, it's like, no. But then you don't know if that, if that happened in 30 minutes before you got there because everyone's all grouped together.
Yeah. Do you ever worry that those fish will see the camo of your wrap and recognize your boat and like run?
No. A lot of the fish, the 53 pounder that we caught actually was it ate underneath the boat.
Interesting. Now, did that one eat a bucktail as well?
That's all I got.
Oh wow, man,
that's all I try to fish with.
53 pounder and 57 pounder the same day, especially on opening day in tough conditions, is not an easy feat, and definitely I think you said there's some luck involved, but I like to think that success.
I think a lot of it is luck on running into the fish that eats. Now the skill part is being able to see them and have like muscle memory or reaction time to be able to react to the fish and be able to make like a good cast or display the jig properly and try to read the fish on what you think it's going to do. So like
that's I think the part that a lot of us recreational anglers miss. We kind of are a little bit too in the moment, and the cast comes off a little sloppy just in the general direction of the fish and not like laser focused in a specific spot.
It's like a whiskey throttle.
Yeah.
You just get really excited. And we just kind of get used to it after seeing these fish, year after year after year. And it does make you a little bit better, I guess, on like just being able to stay calm or like in the pocket or whatever they want to say. Cause like that fish, we caught it on the way. I was on plane running in. It soaked up 50, 60 feet in front of us, turned the boat, and a hard right turn, ripped it out of gear, grabbed my bucktail, and just dropped it. Well, I remember my customers, they said they didn't know what was going on. They just saw a bucktail drop from the window right next to them.
And the next thing you know, they see a rod coming down tight.
Yeah, I dropped it down. The fish was gone. It was already down. I dropped it, 10 seconds, did one jig, and then it piled on it. And it ate, and it was completely underneath the boat. And I don't know how we were able to get it handed down and to the other side of the boat without breaking it off in the wheel, but we were able to land that. And that's where the luck comes in.
And one of the benefits of your boat, that privateer not having outboards to wiggle around, you're able to maneuver that line around the back of the boat much more easily than if you've got outboards to deal with. We just
That's the worst.
finished.
That's the worst though, is like, because the fish go underneath. Like, if that fish ate and went underneath the boat on the other side, so it was all over my running gear. That's the
Mm,
worst thing, because you got to think the props right underneath there. That's what happened to me
that's
last
true.
year. I had to dive in and cut the line, and then or Nathan jumped in, he cut the line, and then retied it, and we actually landed the fish. It was wrapped up in my wheel,
Come
completely
on.
on the other side of the boat. Yeah, and then I spent like an hour of cutting braid out of my
But y'all
wheel
got the fish?
while we landed the fish. Yeah, he was
That's
able to.
incredible.
He cut the line. He handed it up to me. I held on to it, tied a knot, and then we landed the fish.
Goodness gracious. How big was that fish?
47 inches.
So that's not a lightweight by any stretch of imagination. But back to what you were saying, we just finished this week was the U.S. Open on the PGA Tour, and the stakes are high, and standing over like a 4-foot putt can be treacherous to the average amateur golfer when you have to make a 4-foot putt. But for a PGA professional, it's just muscle memory. So like you're saying, for you, those 4-foot putts, making that accurate cast is almost like thoughtless because you've done it so many times. But that is the difference for us, recreational anglers, that we miss a lot because we might be landing it close, but we're not landing it in that, ideal zone that's going to actually engage them to want to strike. It's going to maybe spook them or look unnatural or whatever. As we go into Cobia season 2025, new regulations, 43-inch minimum. Any thoughts or recommendations for us recreational anglers as we go out and have our fun?
That's a tough one.
I know.
That is a tough one.
I know it is.
You're putting me on the spot just because I just did it too.
Well, it's a sensitive topic, but it's also a topic that we
Say,
we have
well,
to
you were there
discuss
with me. You were there with me and Zach when we talked to them about it, and we told them.
at the meeting. Yeah.
Yep. That I will say this I guess this is where, it gets into the sticky situation where I say that it shouldn't be the same because I'm a charter, with somebody that's coming down once a year, you know what I mean? They come land these fish, and, we have it year round, like recreational guys have it year round where they can go out every weekend. I mean, we see the same boats out there every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
Try, I guess, I would say it's completely up to you guys, but I would say try to release a fish over 55 inches, or, if it's your biggest fish ever, go for it. If it makes you happy, kill it. You're perfectly legal to it, but I do see it being the downfall of this fishery. Just because of what they've done to the regulations already and what we've seen them do in years past, and especially with rockfish. And that's kind of what we brought up to them, was that they are going to see all these big fish killed. Because what did the girl say? She said, not many people catch a fish over 50 inches, let alone 2.
Yep.
So I don't know where they're getting their data from, but it's not very accurate. And I feel like that's going to be the downside of it, just like the rock fishery. And they're going to say, oh my God, because that's all they do is they look on social media, they check out everyone's photos, and they do all these guesstimations and scientific stuff. But I think if it's completely up to the individual themselves, and completely on like how much you get out there. But I would recommend releasing, those bigger fish, that try to, preserve VMRC's like opinions about it, or their thoughts.
Yeah. The stock estimates
Yes, because that's all they're going to go off of, because that's what I asked her was, where do you get this information? They're not out there doing, research or, at the fish cleaning stations every day looking to see what gets brought in. They're just going off whatever they see on social media and then just guesstimating it off that.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Like, that's why I always try to say, revive your fish properly with the fish grips, because they look at how you hold them and how you release them. And then they take that into consideration of the dead loss.
Right. The mortality rates. And, something that I've had a conversation with a friend about this too. I mean, of all the fish you can go out and catch, besides like a tuna or other pelagics, which are harder to go get and not as easily accessible, the cobia is probably one of the biggest yielding fish that we have access to, easy access to. And for the average person, one cobia is more than enough, fish, unless you're having, a family reunion and a fish fry. So my thought process is just more along the lines of just ask yourself the question, like, how much do I need? And just regulate your harvesting against that. And, a 45, 46 inch fish, in my opinion, eats as good, if not much better than that 55-inch fish. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying to
Well,
keep that in mind is, release them over 50. If you've not gotten your kill citation for the year and you're like really confident it's 55 pounds, yeah, go for it. But otherwise, take every effort you can to be a steward of the resource and just be mindful of what you need versus you're just fired up and want to kill it to take a picture with it.
yeah. And that's where it gets, tricky for us guys on charters, because these people are spending tons of money to come down here to catch these fish and, they're perfectly legal to kill theirs. And, these guys come down once a year to do this stuff, and it's going to be tough to tell them, to let it go, if they really want the meat. Because I've got a lot of guys that come down and they'll do like 2 days in a row. And that's like all the cobia that they get for the entire year. And
Hmm.
it lasts them throughout the entire year, and they come back down there, refill their freezers and everything like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say just be very mindful of how you handle this season, because I
Hmm.
feel like this is the season that's going to be the make or break for these fish.
Hmm.
And I hope that it goes well. And I'm not trying to judge you. If you killed two 60-pounders in a day, that's great. I hope you do. If you want to, but it's just, don't do it every day, I guess.
Right,
I
right.
mean, it's a very sticky situation, because you're gonna get flack if you say don't do it, and then I went and did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a
And that's where it runs into the thing. But it's just, like that guy. He came down from Maryland. He comes down every year from Maryland, and he tries to get on those fish, and he'll be back, next year to do the same
right.
thing. And that's it. It's not like he's being able to do it every single day. And we had limited shots, and those were the only fish that we were able to get that day.
Yeah.
Um, that's the whole thing. But like, I'll say it's going to be a very interesting year
Yeah.
with that, because I think that it's going to turn into a very, oh crap moment when they see this
The
and
result, the
realize,
potential results.
yeah,
Well,
because that's what we told her was like, you wanted us to release the 50s because they were the breeder fish,
mhm.
and then now we did that for the last 5 years, and now we've seen a huge increase in bigger fish in the past couple
Mhm.
of years and more fish. And then now, like what Zach said, he's like, well, what was the whole point of us doing this for the last 5 years if you're going to take it away again?
Right,
Or if you're going to get rid of it and then do that, because then we're essentially backtracking the last 5 years that we did.
right, right.
Because it's not like those fish are 4 years old. It's
And
kind of insane to think about. But it's almost like they're setting us up for failure, is what it feels like.
I can definitely see how it seems that way. And then it's almost like the thought process went to kind of the other end of the spectrum. So instead of protecting larger fish, it's trying to protect that 40 to 43-inch fish that's right on the edge of being able to be fertile and reproduce and giving them another year to live. But I just want to say I appreciate you letting me put you on the spot for a difficult question. We talked about you fishing since 2008. You've got the experience and the time on the water and the time with these fish to speak to it from a place of experience. So I value the insight. I value the opinion. And what I really heard you say is every chance you get to kill one less fish because you don't really need to have it, just kill one less fish. And that collective effort of us as recreational anglers, which according to her is the largest impact, we can hopefully make a difference.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's going to be the main thing. Is like a lot of them. I think a lot of it is mortality, is
yeah,
releases. They get in the boat. That's why I don't know why. I mean, I get it. Like if it's your first time cobia fishing and everything like that, but like why try to go out there and catch a 30-incher or a 35-inch fish and you're throwing a live bait at it, you're gut hooking it, then you throw it back. They watch all that, and
hmm,
that fish gets in the boat, and those are the ones that freak out and beat the mess out of themselves.
yeah,
And I see it all the time. They don't make it. They just
yeah,
beat themselves senseless in the boat, and then you try to revive them as best you can, and then they just mud dart.
yeah,
And they know that. They've got the research for that. They've got constant people on everybody's social media is looking at it,
hmm,
and I think that's going to be the downside. Is like it's what I try to do with like a lot of my clients. that I've got is guys that want to catch a trophy fish and release it. And then I do have a lot of guys that want to, just load up on meat. Not saying either or is right. But I'll say the majority of the fish that we try to throw at are going to be at least 48 inches or 50 inches.
Yeah.
It's just like what we try to go for. It's the best fight, no one really, that's why I try to tell all these guys that are new to it. And you got 4 guys on the boat. It's the one guy's turn to catch a fish. You hand the rod down, it's a 30-incher, and then he's happy for a minute. And then he sees you throw it back. And then he's like, what? And you're like, yeah, it's not a keeper. It's a small fish. Then the next guy could catch a 50-incher. You know what I mean? Then it's like, okay, I just burned my turn on a 30. Why did you even throw at it?
Yeah.
And they just try to, I get it. You're trying to, pump numbers and make it look very appealing. But then that's also the downside of the entire fishery is showing that there's fish everywhere. And then a lot of those fish don't make it or, just end up being stung and then they don't eat for your following trip. And, it just makes it harder. You're just making it harder on yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah. I'm hearing you almost kind of describe the difference of like looking at it and appreciating it as like a sport, like a true sport where you're like really putting yourself against the odds and trying to like excel at like a tight framework of these are the fish I'm going to throw at, not just take the easy shots at, smaller fish versus just kind of like a hobby where it's like, oh, I'm just going to go out there and just cast as many times as I can at something that's swimming. So I'm really hearing that too as kind of a challenge to kind of adjust, my fishing as well too, to be mindful of the fact that like every fish that I hook that I don't harvest, I run the risk of, adding to the mortality rate. So just to be mindful of how many fish I throw at, what type of fish I throw at, and if I do hook a fish that I'm going to release, to just be mindful of that through the whole process of boating it, handling it, and getting it safely back in the water. And again, all those things, the decisions about harvest, all of that add to hopefully leaving us with a stock and a resource that we can continue to enjoy year after year and not have to face some hard changes in the future.
Yeah. And this will throw you off too. You ready for this? This is what we talk about all the time. Why stay out there and keep catching these things after you caught your limit? Mm-hmm. You don't go and book a charter boat out of Oregon Inlet and catch your limit of tunas and stay. And just because you caught them in 2 hours, you stay out there all day and catch and release tunas.
That's a great
Do you stay out
point.
there after, one of my buddies told me, he's like, do you stay out there all day after you caught your limit of sea bass and catch and release sea bass for the rest of the time?
No, you don't.
No, you caught your limit. In the bay, you can do something else, not saying like, oh, you could go and change it up for sea bass and go, depends on the time of year and everything. But like usually like any other fisheries like that, if you're in the bay and you're flounder fishing and you catch your limit, you don't stay to release fish. Cobia fishing is literally the only fishery that we do where guys stay out there all day to catch and release fish after they've already caught their limit. And then it's the same people that go and then complain that they don't eat the next day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what we try to say is like, okay, so if you caught 15 fish this day, but then you spread it out through 3 days, you could have 5 fish a day, 6 fish a day consistently the entire time versus having your highs where you got 20, 30 fish days, 10 fish days, and then they drop down to 2 or 3.
Right.
And that's what we try to advocate for is like, keep it consistent. Our main goal, my main goal every time I go out fishing is to catch everybody on board at least a cobia and to get our limit. And then after that, we'll try to switch it over and go into something else. Unless we see like a true big fish, like a citation, citation or something like that, then we'll throw at it.
Right.
And that's kind of, the sport of it. It's the same thing like the red drum on the islands. If you sit out there all day and catch these red drum on the islands where it's only a group of 100 fish and then they don't eat now.
Yeah.
Because you hooked every single one in the school this entire week. Or you could take your trip in there or go in there with your buddies and catch 1 or 2 or 3. And then you can spread those out the entire season. Then everybody gets a shot at it for the rest of the year, and it still becomes a trophy. I feel like if you're out there and you can catch 30 to 40 of the same thing, then it's not really a trophy anymore. You're kind of feeling that aspect that we have. We have a great fishery. We've got some of the biggest cobia around, some of the biggest red drum around. And if you just sit out there all day and do that, it just kind of takes the fun out of it. I get for the clients or, your friends coming in town, and make it look easier than what it actually is. Not
you make
because
a
it's not going to be like that every day. You know what I
right.
mean? It's like, okay, you have a great day. Every once in a while, it's going to be like that. And then it's like, it just peters off to a norm. And I just feel like then it gets everybody's hopes up, for the rest of the time because they see it all on, Facebook. Because it's like, the recreational guys, I'm sure you guys know, you see like these guys post all these things and then you go out there and then you struggle to catch them,
Yeah.
And
Yep.
it's like, what am I doing wrong? Then you get in your head, you get down in the dumps about it. And it's like, no, it's the same fish. And you're just throwing at the same fish.
Yeah, just too much pressure. You make an interesting and valid point that I agree with about adjusting your perspective on how you go after them when you think about like the sea bass, the flounder, the spade fish.
Oh, spade fish,
You don't
mackerel. Like, are you going to catch and release Spanish mackerel all day?
no, you're not.
No, you're
You're
going to
not.
switch it up and go for something else. But that's where it comes into the issue where there's a lot of one trick
It's
pony.
just overfishing for no real good reason other than
Yeah,
just look, we caught more and we released more. So I take it almost as like
it's an ego thing. It's more of an ego. Who wants to be
yeah.
the king of the bay type thing? And I get it. I get it. Like, yeah, absolutely.
But
Like,
we grow and we mature and we learn, and education drives change in your behavior. And so I
and
almost, when you were talking about that, I was actually thinking about like cigarettes, and how like back in the day, we used to, people smoked cigarettes, and now we have education that shows that smoking cigarettes can kill you and cause lung cancer. And so as a result, people have made the decision to change their behavior and stop smoking. I was just listening to what you were saying and thinking about how education drives, changes in behavior. And I think about like cigarettes. Everybody used to smoke cigarettes. It was no big deal. Smoked on planes, smoked everywhere. And then we found out that, it causes lung cancer and can kill you. And so a ton of behavior changed accordingly. So I appreciate and value the education and thinking about it a little bit differently. I've never heard it from that perspective. And so, for me, that's going to drive some behavioral change to where if I'm out there and, I've caught the fish that I want to catch, really going to focus on learning something new, but whether that's, trying for flounder or trying for, red drum or sheep's head. I'm going to try for something different, versus just staying out there all day and, throwing at cobia that are not going to be harvested. But yeah, any final thoughts on that? I know we've kind of belabored this point a little bit, but it's a good conversation to have.
Yeah, no, I just want to, not trying to sound like, not to go out there and go fishing for them, and not that, not going to bash you if you catch 10 fish, 15 fish, you have a stellar day. Like, not trying to do that, but it's like, if you look at it, like we were talking about, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, so say like, Luke, if you're out there and, you've caught 2 fish or something, and then, there's a 40-incher or something, next to you, and you don't throw at it, then the guy down, the channel or something, maybe he's never caught one.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's got a shot at that fish now that would, that might eat. That's where I'm kind of getting to it. It would benefit everybody in the grand scheme of things. And if you stop catching so many, then that leaves some for guys that maybe it's their first time out and they get discouraged because they've thrown at so many fish and they don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's because those fish have been hooked and then let go. But, if we all, it's a fishing community, at the grand scheme of things. Like, imagine going to a wreck and trying to fish a wreck where someone just fished and they stayed and caught 300 sea bass and then released every one of them. You go there, you're not going to catch them, but they're there.
Yeah, you're right.
And you're going to get upset by it. And I think that's kind of like where everything changes, is because we're hunting these fish and we're seeing them. Like, I get it. Like, if you want to go after a trophy fish and you really want to catch that 50, what I tell everybody, and this is what I try to do in my charges, is you want to catch a big fish, and that's what they want to say. The amount of time that you're spending to go and you throw at a 40-incher, maybe 100 yards down, you could have seen that 60-pounder that you've always wanted. And by the time you get there after you're dealing with that fish, it's gone.
Yeah.
How many times you've been working the channel where everyone's at, and you throw at a fish because it's the first fish you see and you just catch it. And then all of a sudden, the guy goes past you and then he hooks up to a big fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah,
going, why did we even do that? You know what I mean? That's why I'm saying it would benefit everybody. It would be a way more fun fishery if everyone else got involved with it like that.
Yeah.
Then everybody would be happy. And there'd be a ton of fish for everybody. And, you wouldn't see that problem that we're seeing now with fish not eating, I've never seen that unless
Yeah.
they're spawning. That's the only times we would ever see that. And the only thing that's changed is just there's more people doing it.
Yeah.
Just because it's popular. It's a great fish to catch. It's very fun, but that's all it is. Fish don't eat that have already been hooked.
Yeah. Well, it's a simple ask that I'm hearing you say, and I agree with it. It's just like, hey, it's tons of fun, but if you've had your fun, just think of the next guy and move on to something else. And I think that little bit of adjustment in behavior along with adjustment in harvest makes it, like you said, it's more of a community and we're all working together so that everybody can go out and have fun and enjoy it. For those of us who don't have a boat and want to experience this, want to get on board, your 31 privateer with that big old tower and fish with you. What's the best way they can contact Real Release and get booked for a charter?
You can message me on my socials, Facebook or Instagram, Real Release Sport Fishing, or give me a shout through an email on my website or text message or a phone call.
Awesome. Well, we'll drop all that in the show notes for folks that are listening. I know this was a little bit longer report, but man, I really appreciate you kind of spending the time with us and having the tough conversation, talking to us about the wreck fishing and the flounder. I learned a lot. I hope our listeners did too. Thanks for hopping on the show, man, and spending some time with us.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. I'd just love to see everybody get out there and, enjoy everything that we've got. The bay's an amazing place to fish, either sheep's head, spadefish. There's tons of things to fish for. And I've just, if we already got a lot of heat on us for the Cobia this year, and I feel like this is the breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if we just kind of try to do, change it up and not focus on one thing 90% of the time and try to disperse our time. It's not like there's not other things to go for. I mean, the flounder fishing was phenomenal. We had, I think every trip that we've caught at least 20. And then like the other day we had an 8-man limit, and then we probably had 50 or 60 flounders.
Wow.
I mean, there's tons of fishing right now.
That's awesome. That's exciting to hear. Well, summer's just kicking off. We've got lots of reports ahead of us, so we look forward to having you back on soon and hearing what you guys are up to. Again, thanks for hopping on and spending the time with us.
All right. Yeah, not a problem.
Awesome. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up an informational, educational, and exciting report with Captain Robbie hearing about those jumbo cobias that he caught on the opening day, along with the exciting action happening on the inshore wrecks. Lots of fishing to do. Hit him up on the socials, follow him, book him for a trip. You'll definitely get on something when you're on Real Release. Folks, stick around for a quick word from our sponsors that keep this great information free for you each and every week, and we'll be back with you real soon. Upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture, built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine-grade aluminum with a protective anti-corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast-drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Doc. Check out the full collection at killerdoc.com today. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's show. There's been a flurry of activity going on from North Carolina all the way up here. Water temperatures are starting to adjust pretty quickly. Everything from tuna to flounder, sea bass, cobia showing up pretty good. So I kind of want to get a little bit of a report of everything. So I'm excited to welcome back to the show Captain Colton North with Litigator Sport Fishing. How are we doing this evening?
Great, Luke. How are you doing?
I'm great, man. I'm excited to hear what you've been up to. You guys at Litigator, you've got two boats, right? You've got the Precedent, which is down in North Carolina, and then you've got the Intrepid up here. But we were talking before we hit the record button that you went and did a little fun fishing down south. Give us a quick debrief on that.
Yeah, we went fun fishing down in Carolina for some tunas this past Sunday and Monday. Back-to-back days. We had some of the best fishing we've seen on the boat in years. We were able to kill just about limits of tuna each day. First day we ran out of ice and storage at 9 o'clock in the morning. Came in early, cleaned fish, cleaned the boat, fueled up, went back out the next day, and ran out of ice and storage at 12 o'clock the next morning with tunas both days up to 70 or so pounds. There's
Wow.
some great fishing and a great time with my buddies in, a last little hope of running south before we're starting to work 7 days a week back up here in the bay.
Man, that's like the kind of tuna trips that people dream about, where all the conditions come together and the tunas are there, they're actually eating. Quick debrief, like how far out did you have to go? What water temperatures were you in? And what were you pulling, and what speeds? Just kind of walk us through getting your bites. What was the spread looking like, and temperatures and speeds?
Yeah, we run all sea witches, which is a basic skirted ballyhoo rig.
Uh-huh.
Ran 34 miles just about out of Oregon Inlet from the sea buoy, due east to the 650, 670 line, which is just your Loran location when fishing offshore. Fishing 72 to 73 degree water. Pretty simple basic spread, 8, 10, 12 sea witches out. Sometimes pull a planer rod, which is just like a planer you'd use for Spanish mackerel fishing, but much larger. And actually, we never even really got a chance to get that out because the first day of fishing, we were catching fish on the one rod that we could get in the water every time we put it in the water. So we actually caught 4 tunas before we could fold the outriggers down, and then we had caught 6 by the time we could get more than one rod out, and we finished up pretty shortly after that. Second day, same deal, a little bit slower of a bite in the morning, but picked at them singles, pairs, triples for a couple of hours until we ran out of storage.
Man, do you feel like you were doing something unique or different that was causing you to get so many bites? Or was it a combination of like just doing the basics correctly and just being in a spot where there was plenty of tunas
It was
that were
it was
actually
getting there.
hungry?
It was getting there early. It was all about getting there early and taking advantage of the opportunities you had, and it was just some really good fishing for once. We fished plenty of times down there in the
That's
last
awesome.
2 or 3 years where it's just picking at them fishing, but it really picked up today, or the past week or 2 weeks down there. And we got lucky and timed it right and made our shots count.
That's awesome. I know last week, talking with Captain Bill aboard playing hooky, some of his runs down there, he was noticing everybody was green sticking. Did you see the same thing, or were the folks near you just trolling just like you were?
There were before I had gotten down there were some boats kite fishing, which is a similar way to fish. You're presenting your baits similar to how a green stick boat works. But we got lucky, and really the only reason for breaking out a green stick or a kite is when the tunas are being finicky. It's getting your lines out the water and running those baits far off the side of your boat in that clean water. And we didn't have to do that. When they're cooperating and when they want to eat, the only term for it is they were happy to see us and we were happy to see them, and they just ate what we put in front of them.
Don't you love when people?
They could miss a bait. They could miss a bait and take the ballyhoo off of it, and another one would come up and eat the plain sea witch 5-10 foot behind the boat while we were trying to change baits.
Those are the days that you dream of, and when you've had all those rough days that don't work well, it just makes a day like that that much sweeter. And trolling speed, what are you in, knots or miles an hour? How fast are you going?
I'm in knots. I'm between 6 and 7 knots. It really depends on how much attention I'm paying and which way I'm going with the current or against the current.
Got it.
Sometimes action's so fast and the boat's getting pulled out of gear. We got a lot of drifter bites, actually, which is a term we use when you're trolling, you hook up 1 or 2 fish, you take it out of gear so that you can get them in quick and make everything happen as fast as possible. And the baits that are still out are sinking, still clipped into the riggers, and they're sinking down while the boat's in neutral. We actually caught probably 5 or 6 fish on the drift while fighting others.
Oh, wow. So they were just fired up.
I have a
They
hard
wanted to
time
eat.
believing speed. Yeah, I have a hard time believing speed plays too much of a factor. When they're there and they're hungry, they eat.
Yeah. And the water you were in, was it blue-green water, blue water? What was the color like?
It was beautiful blue water, 73 degrees.
Mm, that's That's all you could ever ask for. Well, congrats on a successful fun trip. That's definitely a fun way to kind of slide into the real work season up here in the Bay. What have you guys been doing up here in the Bay? What can we look forward to? I know you guys have been advertising. You've got the kids camps coming up, and you've got some availability for both boats up here in the Bay. Tell us a little bit about what you've been catching up here and what we can look forward to up in the Bay.
Yeah, so we've started off the season doing some catch and release cobia. Only been out a couple times for them, but definitely seeing some. Been a little slower. The water temps just haven't gotten up in the bay. It seems like every time we get up in temperature, we get a couple days of rain or a couple days of a hard north or east wind, and it kind of cools things down again. So definitely not the strongest showing of cobia we've seen in years as far as early season goes, but we know they're here because myself and friends of mine are all catching them on bottom as well. So when they're chewing really good on bottom, and you're not seeing them up top, sometimes it has to do with water temperature, and we're just working through it and doing what we need to each day to try and put some fish in the boat and get some good photos, and looking forward to the 15th when we can start harvest them. But other than cobia, we've been doing some wreck fishing. There's steep heads are moving into the bay. They're all over the bridge tunnel, and they're all over some of these reefs and whatnot. So picking at them, and just yesterday, actually, I went on a flounder trip, just trying to scout out a few areas and see what we had to work with for some upcoming trips. And myself, and two of the boys that work for me in the summertime that are mates on my boats, we just hopped on and went flounder fishing. Ended up catching a 3-man limit up to 24.5 inches. So that was a great time. I'm actually about to go eat the rest of those tonight for dinner.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned you've got a big crowd over there at the North House, and you've got all kinds of stuff. People are probably really happy to know you right now.
Oh yeah. Well, when you're fortunate and you're successful offshore, there's a lot of meat to go around. Besides everyone on the boat having plenty, I was the captain, so I ran the boat both days. Therefore, I got my share of meat both days, and I had enough meat to give away. I don't know, 10 or 12 people all got a fresh bag of yellowfin tuna caught the day before, and now I'm cooking up. Well, eating half of it as sashimi, the rest in sushi rolls, and some of it seared. So preparing it 3, 4, 5 different ways on top of a, 3 times 4, because you get 4 fillets per flounder on top of 12 flounder sandwiches tonight. There's a hell of a lot of fish to go around.
Oh man, I think everybody listening right now wishes that they were parking on your street and going to eat at your house tonight. That sounds absolutely delightful. If you could have your pick, like if you could only do yellowfin tuna one way for dinner, what are you choosing?
Sashimi. Straight off the fish, dipped in a little soy sauce and wasabi mix.
Yep, that's my favorite as well too. There's a little
Simple
trick.
and easy.
Yeah, and you can a little trick you can do. I know Food Lion sells it. I think some other grocery stores have a different version of it. I know Walmart has it too. But you can buy the pre-made packs of sticky rice that you just toss in the microwave for 90 seconds. You kind of got to let it cool down a little bit. Then you just wet your fingers, and you can make those little thumb size nigiri rolls where you just little spit of wasabi on the top of a piece of rice, and then your tuna on top of that, slide it through some soy, and it's delicious. But it kind of tastes the same as what you get at the sushi restaurants, but you can kind of do it right there in your own home. So little pro tip for anybody that wants to make some nigiri rolls. I'm curious. You said you did a pretty good hit of flounder, a 3-man limit. This time of the year, I know like all in the middle of the summer, flounder gets pretty good. Are you targeting them in the traditional way right now, or are you doing something different?
I'd say it was pretty traditional. It was 3 guys, 3 rods, a couple of 1 to 2 ounce bucktails tipped with gulp. We did catch some bluefish, so we used some strip baits, and man, we just hit the bottom. We grinded through all the break-offs and the loss of gear, and I don't want to talk about how much money I lost in bucktails and, jigs on the double rigs we were using and the snags, but sometimes that's just what you got to do to put fish in the boat. So did a little experimenting, and, I wouldn't say we did anything special. We just kind of put our time in. We probably fished for 4 or 5 solid hours jigging and caught between 25 and 30 flounder. Wow. 11 of them were keepers. and the rest were short. So I guess we were just short of a 3-man limit, but it was good enough a day for me to call it a 3-man.
Oh, absolutely. And
I
so,
had gotten to my limit. Let's put it that way.
yeah, there you go. It's not your fault if somebody didn't catch their limit. You put them in the right spot, it sounds like. Uh, so the double rig, that's the traditional where you've got one jig head down on the bottom, and then how far up do you come before you tie your loop and put your second jig?
Yeah, I'd say about 12 to 14 inches. Nothing crazy. I mean,
Okay.
when you're catching them left and right and you're having fun with it, you just kind of tie something up quick. So when I'd break off, I just tie a quick double overhand dropper loop rig, one bucktail on the bottom, and a little hook or a jig head on top, both tipped with gulp.
Okay, so you're not doing two 2-ounce jigs. You're doing the 2-ounce jig on the bottom and then just kind of a lighter jig
Yep.
up on the top. Okay, got it.
Just a little something up top.
And are you kind of finding like you're right there at the end of a tide cycle where the current's not moving too bad, or were you like sneaking in behind structure where there really wasn't a whole lot of current?
I was honestly just exploring everywhere and anywhere, and we fought through the tide for what felt like the whole time we were out there. It was moving pretty hard the whole ways.
Mm-hmm.
We did catch a few really nice fish in the lee of the current behind some of the pilings, and we also caught some fish just drifting out away from the bridge and continuously jigging, trying to slow the boat down and slow the drift down, but maintain contact with our jigs on bottom.
Got it. Okay, so that's kind of the key there is keep it on the bottom. And then when you do come tight on a flounder, I know that's a little bit of a tricky bite to figure out for those that are not experienced with it. I know myself, I'm not very good at feeling the bite and coming tight and keeping them tight. Like, if you could give me some like pro tips on flounder bites and coming tight and then all the way up to the boat, what are some key takeaways that we can utilize to try to improve our hookups and fish that actually get in the boat?
Yeah, biggest thing and only thing I really have to say is don't set the hook too early. I really like to let them chew on it, and sometimes you're letting an oyster toad chew on it, and sometimes you're letting a flounder chew on it. But give it a solid 5-10 seconds and then lay into them pretty good, and you can always kind of tell by the way it's fighting on the way up. Flounder's going to have a lot more head shakes than an oyster toad. We also caught 100 to 150 oyster toads, which I did not mention in the 30 flounders we caught. So,
wow,
it's just part of it.
So what I'm really hearing is I've got to go to the tackle shop and buy 10x the number of jigs that I probably think I need to be ready to actually be effective. Otherwise, I'm going to run out pretty quickly.
I spent $400 in bucktails, 1 to 2 to 3 ounce bucktails in preparation for this season. I went through $100 worth with me and my mates yesterday, so I think I'm going to be buying some more if that tells you anything.
It does. That's definitely good to know, to not go out there unprepared. I mean, God forbid you spend 80% of your tackle trying to locate a bite, get on a bite, and then not be able to put a limit together because you run out of tackle.
Yep.
That would be frustrating.
It gets expensive, but it's all about how bad you want to enjoy that flounder sandwich at the end of the day.
There's something about a flounder sandwich that's just hard to beat. Flounder is probably one of my favorite fish to eat in terms of like the whitefish. And then what else did you guys do? So you said did you do a little bit of sheeping yet or no?
I haven't really gotten into it. We checked around on the poles, fishing some of the pilings, and we definitely saw them. But the way the current was, it was just too hard for us to get a bite. We were only able to target them for like 20 minutes. And believe it or not, I was driving the boat and using the trolling motor while two of my buddies were trying to sheepshead fish, and I was still flounder fishing. And I caught a 24.5-inch flounder while driving the boat, while sheepshead fishing. So we kind of just said, all right, the heck with this. Let's stick to flounder fishing. We can at least do that.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, two more things I want to hear about. First, those that are listening, that have never gotten to hear you before and don't know the name Litigator, tell us where you fish out of and what the two boats are that you guys have available for charters.
Absolutely. So I fish out of Yorktown, Virginia, right between the York River and Back River. And we fish like the southern part of the Chesapeake Bay. Our range is anywhere from the Bridge Tunnel or Cape Henry towards Wolf Trap Light, which is up there above New Point, below the Rappahannock River, and all the way over to Cape Charles. We've got a 26-foot Intrepid with a tower and a 24-foot Privateer with a tower, both awesome bay boats. targeting, everything in the bay: flounder, sheepshead, cobia, red drum, Spanish, you name it, we fish for it. We also offer some really cool kids camps in the summertime, which are for ages 8 to 16, round about that age. I offer a 3-day camp, and we kind of do something different each day. I typically run on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Every other week in the summertime, I've got one camp wide open and another camp with 2 spots left in it right now. The way we structure those is based on weather, of course, but it's a 6-hour day, so it's not quite a full day, but it's not too short either. It's kind of a good time, it seems like, for the kids that have done it last year. Every camper that I had last year has come back this year and said it's one of their favorite things to do in the summer. We'll target, say we got a sunny day, one day we'll go cobia fishing and teach them roundabout stuff about cobia fishing and drum fishing and trolling. We'll take a day to do some reef fishing. They tend to be my good luck charms. They always had great days on the reef and always out caught me when it came to sheepsheads. I've had some kids catch some stud flounders. We try and spend a day inshore too if the weather needs us to do that. If it's blowing real hard, we'll stick to puppy drum and speckled trout and kind of mix it up each day. So it's an awesome way. 3 days, get a whole lot of experience doing a whole lot of different types of fishing. And every day, like I said, they seem to be my good luck charms. They were going home with just as much meat as my full day charters most days, and the parents love that aspect.
Yeah, I imagine parents have got to love the fact that there's going to be hopefully some delicious fish coming home. But then also, I mean, how long does the kids' camp last each day? Are they out there like 7:30 a.m. till late afternoon? What are the hours typically?
We do 9 to 3. So pick
9
up
to
at
3.
9, drop off at 3. And I'd say about an hour each day is dedicated to getting bait for whatever we're fishing for that day or teaching them how to rig stuff up. And then the other 4.5, 5 hours is all dedicated to somewhat hardcore fishing, depending on the age group that I've got and that I'm working with. I've got some kids that want to all come to an agreement that they want to cobia fish all 3 days, and I've got some that want to try all sorts of different stuff. I kind of tailor it. As crazy as that sounds, I do kind of tailor it to what the kids want to do, because at the end of the day, if they're happy, I'm happy. So I want to make sure I get the most out of the time with them, whether it be teaching them stuff or I even had one group last year that was so on fire fishing. We caught our limited cobia. Everyone was super happy, and it was a really hot, slick, calm day, and they said they were fine with getting back to the dock early and learning the steps of cleaning a boat. So we did that for 30 minutes one time, too.
I'm sure you were just thrilled that they wanted to learn how to clean a boat. You sat back in the shade probably just over there, you missed a spot.
Well, I won't complain. I'll say that much. And they had a great time with it. And, it gives me a little time, too, to, show them some good to know stuff about that and boater safety and then, fish cleaning and stuff like that as well. So never complain about them wanting to come in and change up what we're doing a little bit.
Not at all. Man, that sounds like an awesome time for the kids. And I think it's great that you're offering that. Parents that are listening that maybe have young kids, like you said, between the age of 8 and 16, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I can't think of a better activity this summer, especially in a world like the digital world we live in, where a lot of young kids these days are kind of consumed in their online games and this, that, and the other. This is an awesome way to get outside, experience, an incredible resource that's right here in our backyard, learn something, probably meet some other friends and maybe discover a passion they didn't know they had. That can really carry them through, a lifetime of, great experiences. I mean, going fishing, I think, is one of the most, I don't know what the word is one of the best things you can do with another person to bond, spend quality time and have fun. And then you just there's like that allure of like, you just never know what's going to happen or what you're going to see. It just keeps you coming back. So, thank you so much, man, for hopping on and just giving us an overview of everything from Carolina and the tuna on up into the bay with the cobias and the flounder. Sounds like we've got lots of opportunities and variety that we can choose with Litigator between the 24-foot privateer and the 26 Intrepid. Folks want to get up with you and book a trip. What's the best way for them to contact you and get booked?
Yeah, so I've got an awesome website, litigatorsportfishingva.com. I've got a email address, litigatorsportfishing@gmail.com. And at gmail.com. Yeah, that's right. Or no, at Gmail. Yep. I forget how an email goes now all of a sudden. Anyways, I've also got my cell phone number, 757-345-9698. And, you can reach out for me for any questions and booking. And I did want to add one thing about the kids camps this summer. I recently had a business reach out to me, Horns Hayes Ace Hardware, and they've got this really awesome fishing department. It's not like any Ace Hardware you've ever seen before. And basically, one of their kids went on a kids camp with me last year, and they reached out to me this summer to team up together and help each other with a little advertising both ways, and are actually donating buckets or bags with all sorts of tackle and fishing gear and one fishing rod per camp. So my campers this year are all going home with not only fish each day, but also a goodie bag / bucket with all sorts of fishing gear that they're donating to me.
That's awesome. And what's the name of that business again that is donating all that stuff?
Yeah, it's Horns Ace Hardware, HORNS Ace Hardware. It's like the Ace Hardware you see when you want to go get something from the hardware store. Except for they own a couple in Gloucester, and they've got these crazy cool fishing departments in them with all sorts of stuff. And they, like I said, their kid came fishing with me last summer, and he had such a great time. And we kind of bonded together as a group that him and his buddies he came with last year all coming back for 2 camps this year. And I'd just gotten in communication with them about their business and whatnot, and they said that they would love to donate some stuff. So I'm super stoked for that, because I know that's just going to add a whole new level to kids camps with them going home with some stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's great to hear. And it's kind of like Taylor's Do It Center down here on, Southside Virginia Beach. When you go to the one that's right by the marina, there's all kinds of stuff in there. There's, bilge pumps and stainless steel department and all that jazz. So it's good to know that those local hardware stores are keeping stuff stocked for the fishermen, so that we've got another convenient option when we're going. So Captain Colt, man, it was great to hear from you. Great report. Excited for the season ahead, and we'll look forward to chatting with you real soon for another report.
Yes, sir, Luke. Can't wait to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely, man. Folks, that's going to wrap up an awesome segment learning about what was going on with the yellowfin tuna down in Carolina, the flounder, the cobia, all the kids camp activity. I hope you guys grab a spot with Litigator. If you've got kids, book those kids camps. It's going to be limited availability, first come, first serve. Stick around for a word from our great sponsors that make this content free for you each week, and we'll be back with you real soon.
If you're 21 or older and use nicotine or tobacco, it's time you charge ahead to Black Buffalo, America's only credible smokeless tobacco alternative. Black Buffalo dips just like the real thing, but without the tobacco leaf or stem. Get it now at Wawa, Circle K, Sheetz, Love's, Pilot, Racetrack, and many more that you can see on their store locator at blackbuffalo.com. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative is everything you love about dip, nothing you don't. Serious shallow water anglers count on Stay Put Anchor to do exactly what the name says. Keep smaller boats locked in place. Fast, quiet, and without dropping a heavy, noisy hook. Built in the USA and designed for boats under 24 feet, Stay Put's solid fiberglass pole spikes pair with marine-grade bow, stern, or drill-free motor mounts for quick installation. So more time spent fishing and less rigging. Choose from 6-foot to 12-foot pole options and the versatile super handle to stake out on flats, sandbars, or in the pads. Affordable, dependable, and proven by anglers nationwide. Learn more or build a custom kit at stayputanchor.com. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free AFCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.